The time is now 6 o'clock. I welcome you to this meeting of the Granite Falls School Board. Will you please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I hand it over to Ms. Eastland for our land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Director Kincaid. We honor the first peoples of these lands by acknowledging that the area in which we gather is within the traditional territory of the Stillaguamish tribe of Indians. The Stillaguamish people have inhabited these lands and waters since time immemorial, and their descendants have remained in this territory to this day. The Stillaguamish people have continued to practice the traditional ways of their ancestors of fishing, hunting, and gathering. The Stillaguamish tribe has had these lands and cultural traditions passed on to them by their ancestors who believe that everything has a spirit and they are caretakers of lands and waters.
Thank you. At tonight's meeting, we have Director Gothner, Director Day, Director Ledoux, myself, Director Kincaid, and our Superintendent, David Eastland. I would like to take this moment to excuse Director Carey from this meeting.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That moves us on to district reports. Item number 2A, the superintendent's report.
Great. Thank you, Director Kincaid. We're going to share it up on the screen. Perfect. All right, a quick update as we do at every board meeting on communication, safety, and security. Staff news every Friday that goes out to all district staff. Family news sent every Friday, accessible through our app and through an email. Our DLT weekly messaging shared with all administrators. DLT means district leadership team. We found this to be an essential component. We want to make sure that all administrators know kind of what's happening around curriculum, instruction, and assessment, and any other initiatives in our system. And then the updates for all regular updates to families and staff through social media, our Granite Falls School District app, which we encourage everyone to have. Emails, the Remind app, which is how staff talk directly through text to families, and then Skyward. Looks like there's a little error here, so let me put that the rave part will go down to the bottom. I'll talk about that in just a minute. It was interesting when we had the closure, Director Kincaid told me that someone said, gosh, I was told by, or I got 3 different notifications that we didn't have school, and that's not a problem, right? We want to make sure that we are, getting a hold of families in any way that we can, phone calls or texts or the website or, through the news media. On the safety and security component, this next week, we have a walkthrough at Mountain Way Elementary with Chief Dalton and Deputy Chief Crandall and Marshall. We do those and we're working our way through each of the buildings to look at just safety and security and what things can we do. We will be applying for some grants around safety and security to update cameras, update, access pieces. The information that we've received back by having EMS do these walkthroughs with us is critical because they're the ones who looking at 2 firefighters, right? They're the ones who have to get, equipment and rigs back to wherever the help is needed. So we just really appreciate the partnership that we have with EMS in our area. And then we have a new thing that we're implementing. We had a different, we'll call it, if there's an emergency in our system, RAVE is an app that most school districts in the district are using. And it's a partnership with Snohomish County, and we're going to go over it with our administrators first. And it's an app, we open it, and it coordinates with 911. That doesn't take the place of a 911 call. Of course, we still want staff to call 911 and those kind of things. But if somebody does hit the RAVE app and there's not a 911 call, then they reach back out to us. And it's a better way for us to just have consistent messaging, and we'll have the whole training on the RAVE app. We met with the RAVE folks, if you will, and the Snohomish County people the day before the storm. And so all of cabinet was on the call, but I felt like it was a little bit, they're like, okay, yeah, we'll meet with you guys in a little bit because we're gonna have to get to, because they knew that they were gonna start to have power outages and those kind of things. But we're excited to implement this, a coordinated effort, and safety and security is of course always paramount. Next slide. There was a statewide superintendent meeting yesterday, and I've just kind of put the four big takeaways from that meeting. One is classroom devices. As you know, nationwide, there is a focus, especially on student use of cell phones in class and in school. We want to enhance learning, but we want to also minimize distractions. The OSPI is encouraging districts to develop and implement updated policies, which we have done. We have a very strong policy and procedure. And I think that we have stepped up, especially our efforts at our secondary schools, to guide device usage and hold accountable. We know that when kids are plugged into their own personal devices, that they cannot pay attention, that they cannot know what's going on in class. Your brain is that the term multitasking is a fallacy, right? You can only pay attention to one thing. And it's not only a fallacy, the seconds and time lost between a device and then when you're paying back attention to whatever's happening around you, there's time lost there. So we will continue that effort. I would expect to see some legislation. I think Director Carey talked about it at our last meeting. I would expect to see some strong legislation come out because the research is just evident that kids need to have devices off and away. I will say also, we have asked for staff to follow suit with that. Messaging was sent out the week before Thanksgiving, and then maybe that Monday after. I kind of crafted a draft and gave it to all administrators to go out, and we worked with our labor partners also and just let them know that our expectations is that staff are working with kids and off their devices and things, especially in student supervisory times. There is a survey that's coming out from OSPI. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I do know that State Superintendent Reichdahl said that he'll be sending out a survey in January and trying to garner some best practices so that we can all be doing the same things that we know work for kids. The budget woes are still present. It's about 2.5 billion for the state of Washington each year. You might have heard that in the news. I think Director Dane, you were the first one to kind of tell me that had come out. 10 billion over the course of 4 years. So obviously 2.5 billion for each year. We have to tell the story of our fund balance and why we need it. You don't leave nothing in your checking account every month, right? We have to have that to draw on in case things come up. And then we've mentioned it before. The big three were really, transportation, MSOCs, and special education funding. I think Marshall would agree with me. He hasn't seen this slide yet, but it's really the big two, MSOCs and SPED. I don't see a lot of traction around transportation funding. Maybe the need is there. I just don't think it's as critical as what Marshall described at last month's budget report around MSOCs, the cost of utilities, all the things that we just aren't funded for, continue to implement or to continue to affect our budget. A new one that we haven't talked about is some active legislation around 20 minutes of seated mealtime for students. OSPI has opened public comment in January for that. What that means is students actually having 20 full minutes seated, not in line, but with their food, and 20 minutes to eat their food. The concerns on both sides of this one, so we'll see how it plays out. 20 minutes is a long time for some kiddos. It's probably maybe short of enough time for others. And so I think the concern came from some parent groups and things, and it's across the country. If you're in line for a long time, if you're in line for 7 or 8 minutes and you finally get your food and you finally sit down, and 10 minutes later, you feel like that you have to rush and finish up. And when you're 5 years old or 6 years old, it takes you a little bit to eat your food and do all those things. We want to make sure that kids are getting, the food that they need. The last thing on here, and we talked, I've been concerned about this for a while. The vaping concerns that we have across the country. We have, of course, vape detectors and things in our secondary schools. There's some national efforts around this. It's an epidemic. The vape use is significant, both tobacco and marijuana. There's a broad national initiative to combat this. There's some education pieces that need to happen. Our Healthy Youth Survey indicates that, we have some issues, and this is not a Granite Falls issue. This is a nationwide issue for young people and truly, honestly, for adults. It's a health epidemic. Noteworthy, the Granite Falls School District data. I had Paris pull this data for through yesterday, I think yesterday. There's been 144 suspensions in the system in the 24-25 school year thus far, and 51 of those are vaping related. So, and kids are, some kids are using, some are possessing, some are selling, some are buying. So, and there's a resource there. I'll share these slides with you, but there's a resource there from NEA, and just kind of what they're saying, what they're seeing, but it is across the system. OSPI is aware of it, and I think there's going to be some more supports coming out on how we can educate and intervene around that. We know that it's a gateway also to the use and abuse of other substances. All right, on that happy note, just next slide. Our current budget climate, I asked Marshall to kind of pull just some talking points. Many of these you know already. We've really been tracking 25 districts in the region. 18 have showed declining fund balances in 23-24, and 22 of those are forecasting a declining fund balance for the next year. Granite School District is on track to grow our fund balance a little bit. I don't know if it'll hit all of the, don't want to promise things, but we're doing our best. Our sped enrollment percentage across the system is at 20.5% year to date. And again, our costs are up significantly compared to budget. Our enrollment is down 29 FTE below budget. That's always a difficult thing to predict. And a lot of that was kindergarten, as we talked about before. We have inflationary costs that are outpacing the funding, and that's why the OSPI initiative around MSOCs. We did reduce 3 building administrators last year, 1 non-represented person and 3 classified position to offset, the issues. And then we are really looking already to the 25-26 budget and trying to think about what we can do and these kind of things. We're pretty lean. There's a couple of districts that are like us. Sultan and Lakewood are good comparisons, and they have a more robust central office staff. And so it'll be some good work, and we'll look into it. And I don't know what the state budget is going to look like, but with the news last week, it's concerning. All right, teaching and learning. Next slide. The good stuff. What? Okay, it doesn't say that on my slide, but that is so interesting. The uncoded part of that said, we have a student wellness screener, a universal screener that we're doing. It's up and running, and we will see the data soon. That's grades, Emily, 3 through 12? 3 through 12, yeah. We want to highlight our elementary reading intervention program. The work that is being done there, we have again moved certificated staff from central office back to buildings and working with classified staff members to implement reading intervention services. It's that whole effort of always having your most qualified staff members in front of your kids who need it the most. Teaching and learning is actively tracking. I would say that the spreadsheet is kind of impressive, actually, and color coded, which you'd expect nothing more from Executive Director Moore. Every expenditure for curriculum, instruction, and assessment. We'll have a report in the new year around that. Our technology team is up and running. That's been compiled as well. And doing an audit of all of our digital resources to make sure we're not duplicating services and paying for things like, oh, that provides that and that provides it and so does that, and we're paying everybody, right? So cleaning that up a little bit. And then lastly, 6 to 12 ELA pilot, English language arts. The materials have been received, and that first round of professional learning has been completed, which is very exciting. And sorry, I'm just reading this one. And yes, that makes a cohesive experience and is standards based and all of the components. That was something that was worked on last year and really got cleaned up by the team this year. So we're pretty excited to have that in the hands of teachers and students. Then lastly, upcoming district and community events. We have our second Tiger Cabinet meeting tomorrow. If anybody would like to stop by, it's from 9 to 10:15 in the Granite Falls High School Library. We have 55 students who attend. Always fun to be there. When I was trying to see when my husband was going to have surgery, he goes, I know, it can't be Thursday morning because you're at Tiger Cabinet. And I'm like, well, you can have it then. I just won't be there. Like, I'm going to be at Tiger Cabinet. We have another Success in Education and Bridge Builders Award at the January 22nd board meeting, and that again will be at Granite Falls High School Performing Arts Center. Our elementary schools have Monte Cristo has an upcoming third grade winter concert tomorrow. And then our secondary schools, such a great production of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, 2 productions of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, kicking off that food and gift drive. Just huge shout out to our drama students and Trudy Sullivan and the piano player for the whole event, Miss Emily Moore. And then we have a busy weekend, if you consider Thursday being the weekend, of athletics up at Granite Falls High School. So we have a home wrestling match. It's one of only 2 home matches. So if you can make it tomorrow night, that would be fantastic. Because when I saw their schedule, I was like, wait, what? There's only 2 home matches. So that'd be a good one to stop by. And then we have some boys basketball, girls basketball, and then wrestling over at Cedar Woolley. I was at the girls basketball game last night and the gym was really full. Marshall was there too, and it was great. Always good to see kids doing their thing. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Dana? No, okay. Moving on to 2B business report prepared by Marshall Bruce.
And I wasn't gonna present tonight. I have a pretty big one planned for my next board report, which is gonna be the year, kind of the year-end projection, first year projection. So if you guys had questions, I'd happily answer questions, but I wasn't really gonna present today.
Any questions for Marshall?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so the year-end percent, is that, when we're seeing 5.3, is that an actual projection to the year-end percent, or is that like where we are right now?
That's the budget for year end. So there's a lot of, so we're on 3 payrolls in,
Mm-hmm.
December payroll will come, January true-up apportionment will come. So we usually have a much better idea of how all of our funding is gonna be, how our expenditures are by January.
Okay.
So I can start giving some fairly strong projections of where I think we're gonna end up.
Okay. And then you said some minor damage and stuff was caused by the storm, assuming fairly minor, nothing.
Yeah. Minor, some electrical spikes that cause some HVAC units to lose some components.
Okay.
Some weird things with some gas regulators that were causing our gas water heater not to be able to fire up. We had to have replaced. And they're on the PSE side of things.
Okay.
So we have to have PSE come work on them.
It's good news that they're on the PSC side.
Yeah.
Cost.
Yeah.
That was welcome news.
Yeah.
Anybody else? No? Good, okay. That moves us on to 2C board reports. We'll start with the WIAA.
Yeah. Dana does a great job of, informing us of the sporting events that are coming up. Just coming back from the WASDA conference, I sat down in one of the WIA sessions. There's a lot going on. We'll just say there's a lot going on from a political standpoint of what should not be allowed and everything. So I'll just keep abreast of that. And like, there's nothing that's come through yet, but this, we'll see as new policies come through stuff through WIA and how it affects us. But the other thing that I did learn that I see that we do have, and I was curious, maybe I'll talk offline with you, Marshall, was the is it Pixelate or Pixel, the cameras? Yeah, so we have those, correct? And we can talk offline because one of the things was about recouping funds or generating funds through advertising on those. So that's something that we can talk a little bit more about from a revenue standpoint, but that's pretty much it for me from WIA.
Okay. No budget report today, community report, anything to?
I plan on making some sort of social media for the board, that I can start responding to community members and interacting with them, but, I'll get that done over the winter break.
Sounds good. We didn't have a spot for board comments, but I just wanted to make a comment, real quick. Just to say, as we're approaching our holiday break and stuff, just to wish everyone a happy holidays. My family celebrates Christmas, so Merry Christmas to those who do. And I hope everybody has a safe and fun break. And hang in there, teachers, we've got a week to go. It's a doozy, let me tell you. All right, moving on to, item number 3A, items from the floor. We have someone speaking tonight, it looks like. I'm going to read through our kind of little spiel here. It says the public comment section of the agenda is an opportunity for people to address the school board. Since this is a business meeting of the Granite Falls School District Board of Directors, the purpose of public comments is for those interested to communicate with the board of directors about items on the agenda or specific work within the scope of the school district. This is not a time for the audience to address each other. People may submit public comments for a school board meeting either by reading their comments aloud in person or by submitting their comments in writing. The board reads all written comments, which are later attached to the meeting agenda and available to the public on the board docs website. If you are presenting your comment in person, please begin by stating your name, your city of residence, your relationship to the district, and the agenda item or school district topic you are addressing. Number 2, we request that if your comment consists wholly or partially of text verbatim from an article, an online post, or an excerpt from a book, etc., you simply send us the link to the text and spend your comment time telling us how this information relates directly to district work. Number 3, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. If a comment becomes too lengthy, I may need to interrupt. Please make your statement in a civil manner without disparaging, name calling, or otherwise targeting any one person or group in the district. Similarly, we ask everyone in the audience to show respect by listening quietly without talking or whispering to each other so that everyone can hear each comment. The board does not typically act upon items brought forward during this portion of the meeting at this time, but may be followed up by the board, the superintendent, or staff at a later time. The board also accepts comments and questions at any time through email. We read each email we receive, and we appreciate the time and effort it takes for those who write them. So items from the floor.
My name is Debbie Mason. I live in Granite Falls and I have 3 children that attend schools in this district. Good evening, members of the board and fellow parents. Tonight, I am here demanding answers. I don't understand how in a district that claims to prioritize student well-being and the policies that are meant to protect our children can fail so catastrophically. The unprofessionalism and blatant disrespect I have received from staff members at Monte Cristo is outright disgusting. Also, the misuse of the term parentis logo solely to try to get out of communicating with me about my children. This has only been since my no trespass. My name is Debbie Mason. I am a proud parent of 3 amazing children in this district. I am here to speak tonight about a topic I believe is critical to the success of our children. Lack of safety, accountability, and professionalism, and not following a medical plan for epilepsy. As parents, we entrust this district with one of the most important roles in our children's lives, helping them grow, learn, and thrive. While I am grateful for the dedication and hard work of some of our teachers and a few staff members, I feel there are areas where we can and must do more. Bullying is a huge concern for me. My children have been subjected to harassment, intimidation, and bullying by not just peers, but also staff members, especially the principal and the front desk secretary at Monte. All staff are supposed to be people entrusted to guide and protect our children. As a parent, I am enraged. No child should have to endure this or be targeted, especially by the adults who are supposed to serve as mentors and role models. But what's worse is the district has allowed this behavior to go unchecked, especially the superintendent completely ignoring my concerns and already having a bias against me before we ever met. Where does this leave my children? Vulnerable and without protection they deserve. When I had brought up some of my concerns, I was made to feel like something would be done, but instead of a resolution, more staff using gang mentality became involved in targeting not just 1, but now 2 of my children, exacerbating the situation and causing my children immense distress. I also recently witnessed an incident where 2 staff members were intimidating and 1 physically abusing a clearly autistic child in the foyer of Monte Cristo Elementary. I called and reported this to police. And what was the solution? That very same day, I was trespassed, not just from Monty, but all Granite Falls School District properties. I urge you to implement strict measures to prevent bullying by anyone within the school community. We need clear policies and for them to be followed, proper training and a commitment to a safe, nurturing environment for every student. I also ask that a full investigation into what has happened, not only with the false reports on me, incidences of my child being mistreated and the incident that I witnessed with another child. I need the ridiculously false reports on my daughter's Swiss record wiped. My concern is valid and my proposal is simple. With the investigation, I also need transparency. Empty promises and lip service are not enough. There needs to be real consequences for those who have abused their power. I demand this board take immediate steps to ensure that no child endures the same treatment. Without bias, I know there is decision makers within this district board that are people who I have attempted to work with originally that pretended to be but were not helpful or caring of mine and my family's situation. As parents, teacher, and community members, we all share the responsibility of ensuring schools provide the best possible environment for learning and growth. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 4A, unfinished business, there is none. Moving on to item number 5A, new business, the first reading to amend policy 3414, 3414P, infectious disease. Any,
This is just WASDA recommendation. Yeah,
Yes.
and there's not many changes on it.
Right.
I'll move that we approve the first reading of policy number 3414.
motions has been made, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 5B, the first reading to amend policy 3420, 3420P, anaphylaxis prevention and response.
Again, another WASDA.
Yes.
Nothing on here for me.
I will make a motion this time to accept the first reading to amend policy 3420, 3420P, anaphylaxis prevention and response. Second.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have the first reading to amend policy 3424, 3424P, opioid related overdose reversal.
So is this also a WASDA recommendation?
Yes, I'm opening it here to see.
And this is me not speaking as a doctor or anything like that. So I don't know side effects. I don't know downfalls or what could potentially go wrong or anything. I did find it interesting though, and it's even highlighted here, the naloxone will not be confiscated from students. Understand that it's a safety med. Do they sell it in other things than bottles that you have to use a syringe for?
No.
Or
It's a nasal atomized.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
medication. And right now it's actually being given away from the Sonoma County Health
Okay.
District
Mhm.
gives it away to people. We at the fire department, we do a leave behind program.
Okay.
in households that may have an issue. So yeah, it's actually real important. I was glad to see that if a student has this on their person, that it is not an issue for our district.
Okay.
Because it is very important that we have it.
I
Okay.
didn't overtly say that before, and so that's the change that was made.
Gotcha.
Overtly saying it. in
Okay.
policy.
Just as long as we don't have a bunch of syringes walking around the school.
Right.
Right.
Not a good thing. Yes.
Okay,
Okay. Was there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the first reading to amend policy 3424, 3424P, opioid related overdose reversal.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the first reading to amend policy 4215, tobacco-free schools and grounds.
This is also a WASDA recommendation. It's a very small component around. You can see the highlighted piece here, the part that's marked, the possession or distribution to anyone under 21 is prohibited. And this is a little bit noteworthy. And I think that it could be said, and we need to probably have better signage and things in our buildings that we're not, no tobacco or vaping or, use can be done on school grounds at any time. even during community events. We have vape detectors in our bathrooms and sometimes they are going off in community events. I've talked to a few other superintendents and same thing's happening there. So our community needs to know when they're renting a space or having an event that you still can't vape or smoke on campus.
Sure. Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept the first reading to amend policy 4215, tobacco-free schools and grounds.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to item number 5E, the first reading to amend policy 5005, employment and volunteers, disclosures, certification requirements, assurances, and approval.
There's some WASDA recommended updates under the background checks. for staff and volunteers.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept the first reading of policy number 5005.
I'll second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
And last but not least, item number 5F, for the first reading to amend policy 6600, transportation.
There's a small component here that WASDA recommended. There's two things. One about if there are private schools in the
Yeah,
system
we're
that
not-
if it works, that we could drop kids off and didn't, affect our schedule. But then there's also some new legislation around school bus trespass. It treats it like a school.
Yeah.
Make a motion that we accept the first reading to amend policy 6600, transportation.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? That moves us on to the consent agenda. If there is no comment, as well, I think we have any additions to. So passes by unanimous consent.
Yep.
And that adjourns our meeting at 6:31 PM.
Thank you.
Thank you.